Flint mother named Leanne Walters watched her twin boys lose skills they already had learned. After drinking lead-contaminated tap water, the boys had to be retrained on their colors, numbers, and ABCs, and they struggled with hand-eye coordination and growth. According to CNN's reporting on her family, what we learned is the children were badly brain damaged. This is what brain damage from lead looks like up close. Not a statistic, but 2 children who were ahead of their age group suddenly failing and falling behind and fighting to catch up. Let me talk to you about 2 kinds of damage, kids and pipes. Not all damage from bad water is the same. In Flint, the worst harm is inside children's bodies and brains. Long-term studies now show higher risk, developmental delays, and worse school outcomes for exposed kids. In places like Miramar, Florida, and Greenville, South Carolina, the main injury has been to the plumbing and mains. Copper pipes leak, ductile iron lines clog, hydrants might not flow when a fire starts. Both kinds of damage matter, but they call for different remedies. Human harm is about justice for the past and support that can last a lifetime. Mechanical harm is about replacing bad pipes, redesigning treatment, and preventing the next crisis. That split is where lawyers, engineers, and public officials all enter the story. Each group tends to focus on one kind of damage first, even though communities must live with both. Let's talk about how bad water becomes a business model. Once a water crisis hits, the money tends to move in familiar channels. In Flint, Michigan, residents and property owners brought large class action lawsuits against the state of Michigan, the city of Flint, local hospitals, and private engineering firms over lead-contaminated water and ruined pipes. National plaintiffs firms such as Cohen, Milstein, Waltz, and Luxembourg, and Sussman Godfrey stepped in on contingency fees. They fronted the cost of years of litigation in exchange for a share of any settlement or verdict. The main settlement with public defendants is about $626 million, not a small sum. Later, settlements with engineering firms pushed the total into the mid-hundreds of millions. The publication Bridge, Michigan reports that class counsel may receive $180 million in fees from the core deal. Some Flint residents have appealed, arguing that number is too high. The law firms responded that no one would have taken the case without that potential return. Similar patterns are now common in other water cases. In PFAS and other contamination suits, environmental firms openly market contingent representation to water systems and communities. They promise, quote, no upfront costs, unquote, while taking a percentage of any recovery. From one angle, this is the civil justice system just doing its job. When regulation fails, lawsuits force change and bring money back into damaged communities. From another angle, it looks like a business model built on failure. Real money often arrives only after pipes corrode and children are brain damaged and already harmed. Let's talk about the pipes, pipe damage, and the lawsuits that are aimed at the future. Pipe damage cases show how law and engineering collide around prevention. In Miramar, Florida, residents and businesses have sued the city and its consultants over water from the wastewater treatment plant that allegedly caused pitting and pinhole leaks in copper plumbing. Case summaries explain that the plant used nanofiltration and reversed osmosis but did not properly remineralize the water. That left the water aggressive toward copper pipes, and even some lab tests look fine. The suit does not stop with City Hall. It also names engineering firms. Kimley Horn and testing company Applied Technical Services, accusing them of professional negligence and product-related failures for not preventing damage to private plumbing. Families and business owners in Miramar are not asking for special education services or lifetime medical care. They are asking for the cost of tearing out walls, replacing pipes, and repairing water-damaged property. In Greenville, South Carolina, the public utility itself is the plaintiff. Greenville Water has sued the United States Pipe Company and Foundry over miles of ductile iron pipes that it says are corroding and clogging from the inside, threatening water quality and fire flow capacity, they claim. Public descriptions of the case say Greenville is seeking to recover what it paid for the pipe and the cost of removing and replacing it. The utility is also seeking punitive damages for deceptive trade practices. Here, this legal fight is about protecting the future performance of the system. It's about making sure mains and hydrants work and shifting the bill for defective infrastructure away from the ratepayers. These cases are forward-looking. They are about pipes, not brains. If Miramar and Greenville win, the main payoff will be better plumbing and stronger balance sheets. That matters for public safety. It does not pay by itself to repair what happened to children in Flint or Greenville or any other place where it can be shown children were damaged by the negligence or malpractice of professionals or municipalities. Human damage lawsuits are about the past. Flint sits on the other side of the scale. Researchers following Flint's children now report higher risks of developmental problems and lower test scores linked to crisis, confirming what parents have seen in their own homes and classrooms. The main resident class actions there seek money for children's medical monitoring, special education needs, and property damage. They also frame the crisis as a violation of constitutional rights and basic duties under environmental law. At the same time, Michigan and Flint sued their own engineering consultants, Lockwood, Andrews, and Newman and Viola, North America. The state's complaint accuses them of professional negligence, public nuisance, and fraud. It argues that they did not demand proper corrosion controls, and they did not give clear warnings about the Flint River water, and helped make it worse once that discolored water and high lead readings appeared in drinking water in Flint. Those cases have ended in multi-million-dollar settlements, including a more than $50 million deal with one firm that denied liability while paying to resolve claims. These human damage lawsuits look backwards. They ask courts to put a price on injuries that have already occurred. Lost IQ points and behavioral problems, anxiety, and the cost of support services that may be needed for decades. The law can write checks and structure funds, but it cannot restore the years a child lost to lead. Well, let's look at what judges and policymakers get to decide here. The decision judges and policymakers make each day about environmental rules, civil rights, and public safety have a direct impact on our communities. These choices shape the day-to-day lives of residents. This is where public policy dilemmas live. The law is good at counting broken things. Feet a pipe, gallons of leaked water, hours of lawyer time, and projected construction costs. It is much worse at valuing a child's lost potential. Now federal lead and copper rules have changed. The new federal lead and copper rule improvements, along with Michigan's strict lead and copper rule, require water systems to map every service line. They must also tell customers if their service line is lead, galvanized, or unknown. Water systems are required to move toward full replacement on a set schedule. These requirements led to inventories, test results, notices, and internal emails. All of this becomes evidence whenever something goes wrong. In the next Flint or Miramar, lawyers will be able to show exactly what a utility and its consultants knew and when they knew it. But policy is still being made backward. It is often cheaper in the short term for a city to gamble on old pipes and minimal treatment. When that gamble fails, the cost moves into court. Residents sue cities and engineers. Businesses sue cities and consultants. Utilities sue manufacturers. Insurers negotiate. Judges approve settlements and award fees. Only then does serious money show up for the pipe replacement, filters, special education, and monitoring. Not all damages from bad water are equal. In Flint, the deepest wound is in children's brains and school records. In Miramar and Greenville, the main scars are in copper and iron. The leaks, clogs, and weakened systems. The law can send money to both kinds of harm, but it does not feel the same to us. When a city and a light pipe maker settle, both sides move on. A child with a brain damage does not. Judges and regulators, legislators sit in the middle of this triangle. Families, businesses, and governments. Their job is to decide how much of the money and attention goes to caring for the kids who are already hurt, and how much goes into ripping out the pipes that could hurt the next generation. The choices they make will tell us whether this is mainly a system for managing liability or a system for protecting the public. Meanwhile, families like Leanne Walters live with the results. CNN's story on her twins describe how the boys who once knew their letters and numbers had to relearn basic skills. They still struggle with growth and coordination for years after the worst of the Flint water crisis. To say that the water crisis is over is completely wrong. Long-term research now shows that many Flint children face similar challenges in school and development long after the pipes begin to be replaced. For them, the difference between damage to kids and damage to pipes is not abstract. One can be swapped out with a backhoe. The other is carried in on a child's mind for life. Thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you listening to our essays, and we'd like to ask one thing of you, that you would support us and to continue this work. So in doing so, you can subscribe to our podcast, radiofreeflint.media. You can go and subscribe and ask to join our newsletter at Substack, which is the Mitten channel. And you can also send us notes or emails at the addresses in the show notes. We appreciate, again, your support and your attention to this. And let's all say a prayer for these children. Thanks again. This is Arthur Bush. Goodbye for now.